The Valley Radio, the future of online broadcasting. The world has given us some great chat show hosts. The likes of Oprah Winfrey, Michael Parkinson, Johnny Carson and Piers Morgan. But who are the new kids on the block? They have bags of energy. They are so young yet wise beyond their 9 years. They are the best of friends and love to play. But what these girls love to do most is to chat and want to use their honesty and integrity to seek out answers from the stars. They are Summer and Ellajade, the girls who like to get some honest answers. Summer and Ellajade chat with Nikki Brown, the UK dog whisperer from Canine Angel, to find out why she loves dogs so much, what her new book is about, and among other things, what has been her most challenging dog to date so far.
Hello, I'm Summer Golding.
Hello, I'm Ellajade Pumphrey.
And we're here today to interview Nikki Brown, the UK's dog whisperer from Canine Angel.
Hello, how are you both doing? It's lovely to be here.
Nikki, when you were small, did you love dogs? And did you ever have a dog?
I absolutely loved dogs when I was little. I did get my very first dog when I was 15. It took that long to get a dog. I was begging every week my mum. I would say, "Mum, can we have a dog? Mum, can we have a dog?" And she'd say, "No, we can't afford it," or "No, it's not the right time." But I didn't give up the hope. And then one day I was out with my best friend in town and this little stray dog ran past me, and he ran into the road and a car was coming, and I just went, "Ah!" and screamed, and he kind of heard me, and the car driver slammed his brakes on and missed him about by that much, and he wound his window down, this car driver, and he said, "Can't you keep your dog under control?" And I said, "But it's not my dog." And he drove off, very angry, this man, and this little dog came running down, sat by my feet and looked up at me, and I looked down at him, and we became the best of friends. And he followed me all the way home, and I knocked on the door, this little dog in my arms, and my mum opened the door, and she said, "What have you got there?" So I told her the story, and we went in, we put him down, and he was doing all the sniffing around the house, and she sat on the floor, and she looked at me and she said, "You know we can't keep him." And I think he must have heard, because he came over and he jumped on my mum's lap and he put his little nose under her armpit and he fell asleep. And she went, "Oh," and she fell in love with him too. And that's how I got my very first dog.
What is a dog whisperer?
A dog whisperer. Now that's a very good question, because a lot of people don't know what a dog whisperer is. A dog whisperer is somebody who has learnt how to speak to dogs in their language. Because we speak in our human language, and we're one species, and the dogs are another species, and they speak in a completely different language. It's almost silent, apart from the odd times they bark and stuff. So yes, I've learnt their language. I've learnt how to speak dog. And that's really what dog whispering is all about, is being able to, it's called interspecies communication, and it's communication between two different species. And I teach, that's what I do, I go around and I teach people how to understand what the dog is saying, and then I can teach them how to talk back to the dog in their language.
When did you become a dog whisperer and how old were you?
I was about 20, I'm trying to think now, I was about 26, 27. And what had happened was my very first little dog that I got, who was called Jake, the little dog that nearly got run over. Well, he was such a sweet little dog at home, but you'd take him outside and he turned into the devil dog. He was such a naughty boy. And he would run off and not come back, and he was only a little Jack Russell, but he thought he was a big Alsatian or something. He had a big chip on his shoulder, and he would go and attack all the big dogs. And I had so many dog owners all saying to me, "Can't you keep your dog under control?" And I couldn't at that point say, "It's not my dog." but it was. So anyway, me and him were very frustrated in the outside world. I used to shout at him and tell him off, and used to come home in tears and say to my mum, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what's going on. And one night I let him off in the dark and he ran off, and he disappeared for about 20 minutes, and I was calling him, and he eventually came back and he laid down by my feet, and his breathing was all funny, and I couldn't really see because it was very dark, and I thought he was covered in mud, but I picked him up because I knew something was wrong, and I ran home with him. When I got to the front door, the light was on the front door, and I saw he was covered in blood, and I thought, my poor little baby's in trouble here. I didn't know what had happened at all, and we rang the vet up, and the vet said rush him down quick. So we took him down to the vet, and the vet checked him over and says it looks like he's been run over. So he must have chased a cat or something and got hit by a car, picked himself up and found me. But he died the very next day in the vet, which was very sad. I was only 16. And it really turned my world upside down. I thought I was the worst dog owner in the world. I vowed never to get another dog again. And that really went on for about 10 years. But because I loved dogs so much, I thought I want to get another dog again. So it was one day when I was about 26, 27, and I opened a magazine, and there was an advert in the magazine to study dog psychology. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get another dog again, I want to know what I'm doing this time, so I don't make all the same mistakes as last time. So I enrolled in the dog course and started studying dog psychology, and that really was the start of the whole journey.
How is dog whispering different to dog training?
Dog whispering or dog psychology is different because dog trainers, what they do really is they train the dog to do tricks, that's right, or to respond to a command like sit, stay, heel, come, and maybe use the clicker or the treat for when the dog's done good, and it's called positive reinforcement, and that's very good to get your dog to do tricks, and it's very good to go to dog training classes. But what I do is I specialise with the dogs with the real problems, so the ones that are really nervous or really aggressive or very obsessive. I go in and I help families when they've got dog problems, and I help them solve how to treat the aggression or the nervousness through helping them understand really that this language that I was telling you about.
You just written your first book, What Your Dog Is Begging For. Could you tell us about it?
What Your Dog Is Begging For is all about educating people about pet nutrition and dog food and natural diets for dogs. Really going back to how they used to eat in the olden days, way before the commercial pet food came onto the market.
Can you tell us what the best dog food is in the world?
I certainly can, yes. The best dog food in the world and the most safest dog food in the world is actually what we call the raw meaty bones diet. And it's things like raw meats and raw bones, and really what we've got to think about is the dog is an animal, it's not a human. And you know, all this food we put in the bags and the tins, it's all sort of made of grains and cereals and stuff you really would feed to a horse, really. And what you've got to think is your dog is a hunter, alright? We're hunters as well because we've got the eyes on the front of our head, alright? And prey animals have got eyes on the side of their head, so things like horses and rabbits. All the animals that get caught by the hunters have all got eyes on the side of their heads. So the best food for a dog is to give it its natural diet of what it would perhaps eat if it was out in the wild. So things like raw chicken wings, raw lamb's hearts, raw bones. I know it sounds a bit bleh, but they absolutely love the diet. They absolutely love it. It's what they were designed to eat, because we've got to remember they're not human, they are animals.
Are chicken bones bad for dogs? then?
Well, everybody's told you they are, but what we've got to really, really understand is that it's when us humans cook the chicken and the chicken bones that the bones become dangerous. Because what happens when you cook bones is they dry out and they splinter. All right, and then when it goes inside, yes, it can cause some damage. But raw chicken bones, as long as the meat and they're all wrapped inside of the meat, are absolutely safe. I've been feeding Annie for about 4 years now on raw chicken wings. So yes, raw is good, but cooked bones, no, not for the animals.
You have a dog called Annie. Can you tell us her story and how you two met?
Annie is a beautiful girl, and she's been with me now for nearly 5 years. And how we met it was a very nice story. I decided after my last dog died, remember him, I decided, well, it was time for me to get another dog. Now I knew what I was doing. So I wrote to all the dog homes in the area, and I wrote to them and said, I want your worst dog, the one that's been stuck in kennels for ages, the most aggressive or can't find a home, and I want to bring it out of the kennels and give it a home, rehabilitate it, make it better, and then perhaps find a home for it. I was looking to foster to begin with, and I only had one dog home reply to me that day, and it was the Greyhound Trust, and they said, we've got this dog called Annie, and she's severely aggressive, she's bitten over 10 people, nobody can come into her kennel, and they were having to go in with a broom just to protect themselves because she was... And I drove down and they brought Annie out of the kennel, and I took one look at her and I fell in love with her, and I said, yes, I'm going to take her home. And it's taken quite a lot of time, but she was very poorly, and that's really why she was very aggressive. She had very bad mouth, rotten tooth decay from this commercial food that she'd been on, the dried food, because that gives dogs tooth decay. All right, all the biscuits. It's like eating sweets every day and not cleaning your teeth. She had very bad teeth, very sore teeth, and you know how grumpy you get when you've got toothache or your teeth are sore. And she was just sort of showing her teeth at people and saying, look at my teeth, they hurt. And she had a few other things going wrong inside her and stuff, so I did some natural animal healing on her, and we changed her diet, and I put her through a behavioural programme, and it took about 11 months before we could really say yes, she was ready for another home. But I'd fallen in love with her too much and couldn't let her go, so I adopted her and she became my best friend. And now she comes around in my jobs, she comes to my clients' houses and she teaches. She's a good example, if you like. She shows what can be done, how dogs can be turned around, and she doesn't bite anybody anymore. She might growl at them now and again, but we're all allowed to do that, aren't we?
What is the most challengingest dog you've ever treated?
Oh, now that's a good question. Let me see, the one that comes to my mind straight away is this big black Doberman, and his owners called me in because they hadn't been able to get this dog out the house for 6 months. It hadn't been for a walk because they were so scared that he would kill something or somebody when he went out the house. He was that angry and aggressive. And I went round and I sat on the settee, and this dog sat in the corner just growling, very low growl, for the whole 2 hours. I was sat there and I thought, if I move, I'm dead. He was just waiting for me to move. And you know, my job is scary sometimes, but I have to remain very calm and very professional at all times. Anyway, the reason why he was so aggressive was, I think because his owner hadn't taken him out for 6 months, was probably feeling a little bit guilty about that, maybe, as people do, because he wanted to take him out, but he didn't know how to solve his problems. So he fed him a lot instead to make his dog happy. But he fed him all the wrong foods, and he was feeding him a lot of sugar. And he was feeding him like Haribo sweets and chocolate biscuits. And the dog food with all the coloured bits in. You know that one?
Yeah.
He was being fed that one. Now that one in particular, because of all the coloured bits, has got a lot of sugar in it as well. And a lot of my education with aggressive dogs is to get the sugar out of their diet. Because like if we give you kiddies too much sugar, you go a bit hyper and a bit crying and a bit screaming sometimes. So it's the same with animals. So we put this dog onto a very raw natural diet and got all the sugar out. But I did get the guy, what I have to do is break that fear cycle. So he'd got very scared about taking his dog out there. I was quite scared, but it's my job to break that cycle. So I got him off the settee, got him to get his dog, and we went for a walk around the block. And he was in the middle, this guy, and this dog was on the other side. And the dog did try to eat me the whole way round. He was like this, but we managed to get all the way around without the dog killing anybody, and it was enough to be able to actually break that cycle. And we carried on treating him for about the next 4 to 6 weeks, this dog, with natural foods and getting him out every day, and he completely better. And now the guy takes him out 3 times a day. He's very calm, this dog, and the problem was sorted, but that was very challenging.
Nikki, it's been fabulous having you on our show. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been fabulous talking to you. I've enjoyed every single minute of it.
So if people want to find out more information about you, where can they go?
They can go to my website, which is www.canineangel.co.uk. But it's been lovely talking to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
Oh.